All right.
All right, we're back. Sorry, we had a little technical difficulty there. So tonight what we're doing on Cucina Quarantena is tagine cooking. So a tagine is a Moroccan pot that you cook in. It is a shallow dish like this, and then it's got a conical shaped top like this. And so the point is that you cook in the base, and then you have this conical shape that you put on top, which bastes the meat underneath. Now there are a lot of different kinds of tagine out of there. When you go to Morocco, the tagine that you see are all made of clay. You can get those ones here. You can buy one in Morocco actually as well. I didn't because I was afraid I'd break it, and that's kind of the problem. With the ones that are made out of clay, they're very, very delicate, and not only that, you have to soak them. And that's kind of the thing.
Why do you have to soak them?
You have to soak the tagine so that it doesn't crack the pottery. So to solve that problem, so that I don't have to worry about that, I've chosen a different kind of tagine, which is a cast iron base. And this I had to season in the oven. So I covered it with oil and baked it for an hour, covered it with oil, baked it for an hour. So theoretically this should be seasoned and ready to use. And then the top is like the regular tagine like this. There are other ones. If I had wanted to splash out, this one was about $40, which is not too bad. If you want to spend a little bit more, my favorite brand of pottery, Emile Henry, makes one of these that is clay that can actually go on a stove top.
Oh.
So if you're looking for kind of a fun Christmas present or something, that was what I wanted, but you know, in these times of having to be economical, didn't happen. That's okay. So we're going to try this one out. This one's by Kook. I thought the name was pretty funny. And you can find this on Amazon. I can put up a link if anybody's interested in getting themselves a tagine to pretend like you are in Morocco. So the recipes we're going to do today, this recipe comes out of this book here called The Modern Tagine Cookbook. And what we're going to do is beef tagine with beetroot and oranges, if you'd like to see the photo of what it looks like and the ingredients.
Here are the ingredients if anyone wants to screenshot that.
Yeah. So what it has is basically it's a beef stew, but then also at the end of the cooking you add in oranges and pistachios that have been sauteed. So we're going to go ahead and get started. One thing, it doesn't have a handle, and you don't want to touch the rim. So just remember, once you put it on the stove, because it's cast iron, don't touch it. It calls for ghee. We're not going to use ghee, but instead we're going to use bacon fat.
What's a ghee?
Ghee is clarified butter.
Oh, clarified butter.
Yeah,
okay.
It's something you commonly find in Indian cooking, but instead we have this big vat of bacon fat, which is also good. Ghee would be better. That's what they call for. But
We could have used the Dairy Gold or the Kerrygold.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So ingredients: we've got garlic, red onion,
Garlic, red onion.
beef. Which again, remember that when we do beef, we buy a whole piece of beef and then we cut it into chunks because it's always a better quality piece of meat. Beets that are raw, but they've been peeled and then quartered. And then this is a poblano pepper. Actually, the recipe calls for a red chili pepper, but I kind of like the taste of poblano pepper a little bit better. I don't want it to be quite so hot. You can choose an Anaheim chili if you want, or something like that better. Poblanos are usually the ones that they use in cooking for making chili rellenos. So it's a pretty mild chili.
We've got our little kitten in the background.
Oh, yes. And Miss Opal is watching us as we cook. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and dive in here. I've got my garlic here, and I'm just going to quickly crush that, get that kind of lightly chopped, and that's going to go in first. I always put in way more garlic than the recipe calls for, so if you don't like garlic as much as I do. But why wouldn't you? That's my question, Nico. Why would anybody put in less garlic? That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Oh no, Mama, our viewership is dropping.
What, all the people who don't love garlic?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start in. So basically the beginning of this recipe, it's garlic, onion, and then ginger. So we're going to put in our garlic. And remember, when you're cooking with cast iron, it's a little bit different than cooking with stainless steel. It takes a little bit longer to heat up. You also don't want to cook it on a super high temperature. It's not very good for it. So keep it kind of medium-low, and it does take a few more minutes to heat up. And you also don't want to use metal instruments on a cast iron pan.
Why not?
Because it'll kind of scrape it, and it could also rust that way.
Oh.
Something else to know, if you ever get a cast iron pan and you season it yourself, is that cast iron pans should not be washed with soap. You actually want to have a little bit of grime on the pan when you're done.
Really?
Yeah, because it helps to season it, which literally means season it, which means that the flavor of these onions that I'm cooking right now are going to soak into the iron, and eventually that'll add to the flavor of whatever I cook in this.
Well, what if you're cooking something sweet?
You wouldn't cook something sweet, I don't think.
Well,
All
just
right.
as like a rhetorical.
It's a rhetorical question, okay. So we've got in red onion, which has been sliced lengthwise. We've got in our garlic. And then it asks for a nub of garlic, crushed or minced or whatever. But I'm lazy, so I go to Trader Joe's. And I get this. And it says to put in a large thumb-sized piece, so I'm going to just kind of spitball that means 2 of these pods. They have these in garlic as well for the ultra lazy, which I think that this is my favorite thing from Trader Joe's practically. Makes cooking really fast. Okay.
Grating ginger takes forever and it's really expensive.
It's not expensive, but it is just a pain to work with, I think, sometimes. I don't care for working with ginger. The best way to work with ginger, though, by the way, if you do want to work with a fresh ginger, is freezing it. If you freeze it and then you have a frozen solid ginger piece, you can get a grater and it'll grate real easily. When it's not frozen, it's really hard to work with. Okay, so we got these just kind of going. It's already starting to brown up just a little bit. Ooh, that's nice. All right, so moving on. We're going to add some interesting flavors that maybe you wouldn't think go together. I'm going to chop up my chili a little bit more. So this calls for a red chili, so I think it's calling for like kind of up to your taste spicy chili. So if you wanted something spicy, you could put in a little red kind of serrano pepper or something like that if you wanted. But like I said, I'm into mild chili flavor. So these are just flavors that seem like I wouldn't pick these out and put them together. But that's what's really beautiful about Moroccan cuisine, is that they put in these contrasting flavors. There's always the sweet and the sour, the salty, kind of a mixture of different flavors. Okay, so far just to review: garlic, ginger, red onion, chili of your choice. Next, we're going to add in coriander, which I think I mentioned before. Coriander is the seed of the cilantro plant. That smell really reminds most people of either Mexican food or of Indian food.
Can I smell it?
What does that remind you of?
That reminds me of Indian food. Reminds me of some kind of potato dish.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange flavor, isn't it? Okay, so we've got about a teaspoon of coriander, crushed coriander. And then this is another one of these oddball ingredients.
Let's see.
2 cinnamon sticks.
Wait, what?
Wait, what? I know.
You just like plop them in there?
And then the other ingredient is a gin and tonic. Because if you're cooking something fun, if you're enjoying yourself in the kitchen, you should always, in my opinion, have a cocktail in hand. So I'm cooking with a gin and tonic today. I'm a little bit out of Negroni ingredients. I'm going to have to do something about that. I'm out of Campari, so
Maybe we'll just have to go back to Italy.
I'll just have to go back to Italy, I think.
Oh, and thank you, Jenny Crystal, for the 150 stars.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. All right.
Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, by the way.
Okay, so moving on. Now that we've got to add in our beets, I'm just checking to make sure. Yeah, the beets, and saute those next, and then we're going to add the beef after that. Now, I'm making kind of a generous amount. It said 3 to 4 beets, and I used 5 because we like beets.
Beets are good.
Beets are good. This is kind of an interesting combination of things. Like I said, if you don't like working with red beets that stain your cutting board, you can also substitute golden beets if you want.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. So we're just going to saute these. Just another little side note, our favorite way of having beets around here comes from a recipe from Seattle's famous restaurant called the Herb Farm. And it's just roasted beets that then, after you're done roasting them, you just peel them and cut them up, and then saute a bunch of herbs like lemon, verbena, and chives in butter. And then you toss them in that.
Oh. Oh.
That's the best way I've ever had beets. That's the way I always make them if I have a bunch of beets sitting around the house. It can't be beat. It's an Animal Crossing pun, right? Okay, so we've gotten this pretty good. Now, I did buy a lot of meat thinking that I would double up on the amount of meat, but tagines are not that big, so I don't actually want to use all the meat. This is about a little over a pound, and this is what the recipe called for. It called for 1.2 pounds of beef. So I think I'm just gonna stick to the recipe for once. So now that we've got our beets kind of nicely sauteed in here, I just want you guys to I wish you, can you look in here, Nico? I don't know if you can, the Wi-Fi a little bit, but.
I'll try.
But
we're going into uncharted territory.
Yeah. You can see that things aren't really sticking so much, but it's okay even if they do, because remember that good stuff there is going to be the fond. The fond is that really tasty stuff that we're going to cook into our meal when we add the liquid to it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push the beets aside a little bit, and I'm going to start browning the meat. Now it doesn't call for me to do this, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to brown it in small batches.
Why's that?
So that it actually gets browned on each side. Because if I put the whole thing in, there's just a small amount of cooking surface right now, and it won't get browned. It also did not tell me to salt and pepper the meat, but I know that that's something you should do. So I'm going to salt.
It's kind of a given.
Yeah. Salt and pepper the meat. And this may look like it's kind of high maintenance so far, but it's going to get real easy here in a few minutes, because once we get the stuff sort of sauteed and browned, oh, it's browning up real nice. Jeez, cast iron is so cool.
Oh, wow, look at that.
How fast did it get that nice brown? Yeah, I know. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, it smells really good. So that's the beauty of cast iron. A lot of people are afraid of cooking with cast iron because it seems scary. And the thing is that even if it rusts, not all is lost. And in fact, we had a cast iron frying pan that I was using to make pizzas on the grill. I left it out there over the winter.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. I went out a couple of months ago to use the grill. It was on there and it was completely rusted. So I brought it in. I took my steel wool out and I scrubbed that thing down. And then I had to you have to restart the whole seasoning process over at that point, but it actually was fine. I scrubbed all the rust off and then oiled it and baked it in the oven a couple of different times at a high temperature. And it's absolutely fine now. And the reason you season pans is you're basically baking the oil on. And as you bake the oil on, it creates a quasi non-stick surface. It's not exactly non-stick, but it's a fairly non-stick surface, and that's the point. So the reason I'm telling you this is that the next time you go to an estate sale and you see a rusty old frying pan that's made of cast iron, pick it up, because you can salvage, you can rescue pans that have gotten rusty. And if you have one in your garage that you just didn't even know about, you can go and use it. All right, so that just looks beautiful and colorful already. So I'm going to give this another minute or two to brown. It's browning up so fast. It's like lightning fast in this. And then what we're going to do in a sec is we're going to add the water to it, and we're going to let it cook. And then while we're letting it cook, it's going to take too long to cook to show you the whole process, but I'm going to prepare the other ingredients so you can kind of see what the final thing is going to be. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Now the reason that people in Morocco love tagine is that you put a lot of effort in at the beginning, maybe 15 or 20 minutes of putting it together, then you put the lid on and you walk away and you let the stove do the work. If you don't want to buy a tagine, you can also use a slow cooker. It won't turn out exactly the same. The other thing that can work is one of those heavy casserole kind of dishes like my blue pot that I have that's meant for the same thing. So if you have like a Le Creuset enameled cast iron Dutch oven, that will kind of be the same, but not exactly. They don't turn out exactly the same. So it's not a big investment. I mean, I think for a new toy for the kitchen, $40 is a pretty reasonable price. I mean, basically I'm making up the price of the tagine by not going out to dinner tonight. So, oh, that smells so good. All right, so just want to double check here. Reduce the heat, cover the lid, and simmer for an hour. All right. I know it seems a little screwy, but I'm going to get some water now. And here we go. So I would wait until the meat has all kind of browned, and this meat is more or less all browned. And we've got some nice juices on the bottom already. I'm going to mix everything together. Another really easy way to go about a tagine is that you can even just saute your meat to brown it, and then take the meat out, and then layer vegetables and then meat on top, and then add your liquid and put the lid on. So there's a million different ways you can go about this.
Oh.
Whoops. The other one that we're going to make later this week for Nico, because I know that Nico loves this, is a sweet potato tagine. Did you see that?
Ooh, no, I didn't.
There's a sweet potato tagine, and I know how you feel about sweet potatoes. Okay, so what it asks is to just put water in, and I know this maybe seems like a very bad idea, right?
I mean, a little, but...
So in the recipe, it says to almost cover the beef and the beetroot and bring it to a boil. I have been reading some of the reviews of this tagine, and because it's not made of clay, it's not going to lose very much water. So all of the reviews that I've read suggest not to use as much water as the recipe says. So that's why I'm going to not quite cover it as the recipe suggests. If you're using a clay one, yes, then you would, because you're going to lose some water. Oops, I almost poured my gin and tonic in there. Nico, are your arms getting tired?
Kinda.
Little cameraman?
Yeah.
Okay. We're almost done. Okay, so basically now all I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it like this. Oh. Yum! It's already yummy. Put a little bit of salt in here. And then we just put this fun little lid on. And just look how pretty this is. I mean, if you were having a Moroccan dinner party, just having this on your stove, it's just beautiful to look at. So we've got that on a very low simmer. Now the next things that need to happen for this recipe is you need to take oranges and peel them and then segment them. And then the other thing you need to do is to take pistachios and saute them in butter. So I'm basically going to wait about an hour, and then when I come back, I'm going to add the orange segments, and I'm going to add the pistachios in butter, and voila, we're done. And if you want to make it a truly Moroccan dinner, you can also make couscous, which takes almost no time. You get the couscous and add boiling water and let it sit, and then that's what you can have as a side dish. So there we go, Moroccan tagine. Because it takes an hour to cook, I'm going to come back in an hour and post a photo in the comments on this video so you can see how it turned out. So good luck in the kitchen, and thanks for watching. And this Morocco week is going to continue. Tomorrow, Reed Cohen is going to be interviewing a female local guide in Morocco to talk a little bit about women's issues in the Muslim world. And then we're going to have a virtual tour of Marrakesh on Thursday. So thanks for joining us. Ciao.